Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Today let's talk about 7 basic foods. They're inexpensive, they're easy to find, and you can store them for many, many years. These are basic, longest lasting foods. Maybe they can last for 30 years or even more, and they can be the foundation for your future basic meals. You can prepare simple things with this, and then I think we'll always be able to have some food available. Maybe you can grow a little bit of fruits and vegetables, source a little bit of meat. I think we'll always be able to have some food, but these are going to be then the basics that we can then, whatever else we can source, we can continue to make our meals more palatable. The first basic food I like to stock up is pasta. Pasta can last forever as long as you put it into an airtight container. Don't leave it in a cellophane wrapper or a cardboard box. Store it away. You can put it in a jar. I even use the food saver, but I don't vacuum it completely tight because I don't want to have the sharp edges of the noodles can pop the bags. We don't want to have any kind of puncture in our bag. So there are all different shapes, all different kinds, many different varieties of pasta. Find some that you enjoy and then store them away in an airtight container. Here is just an example of how inexpensive it can be to stock up on pasta at Walmart. This package of spaghetti has 16 servings. That's a lot of food that you can put away for not very much money. Next, let's look at potatoes. If you want to store potatoes for the longest haul, you need to get potato flakes. Potatoes that are simply potatoes and nothing else in the ingredients. I really like the Idahoan mashed potato, instant mashed potato packets, but those have other ingredients, so those aren't going to last for 30 years. They can last for 5, 6, maybe even 7, but they're not going to last as long as a single ingredient. So when you're buying your potato flakes, make sure that they are single ingredients. You can also choose something like the Hungry Jack hash browns because these are just potatoes. So you can put these into a jar or an airtight container. Don't store them in the cardboard box. Something else that I've been able to do is buy potato flakes that are already sealed up to last for 30 years. You can tell I've had this one for a while because this is Augustin Farms and their label doesn't look anything like this anymore. But I've had this for a while, and guess what? It's still going to continue to last, but anytime I really want potatoes, I can always get it out and use it. I don't have to keep it for 30 years, but I can. If you were to purchase this package of potato flakes at Walmart for not a lot of money, you're going to have 34 servings of mashed potatoes. Next, let's look at beans. I like to buy beans 1 pound at a time. Sometimes I buy 4 pound, 20 pound. You can buy all different varieties of beans, lentils, split peas, all different size packages. And they come in all different price points depending on the type of beans. They aren't the same price anymore. Once you buy your beans, you want to store them away in an airtight container. You can recycle containers. Just make sure they're perfectly clean, they're thoroughly dry. You can use canning jars. You can put them into Mylar bags, seal them in 5-gallon buckets. There's many different ways to store these foods. There isn't one right way. The only thing that's right is that you buy some and you store them airtight, cool, dark, and dry for them to last the longest. Look at this package of beans you can get for very little money at Walmart. It has 32 servings of beans. Next, stock up on rice. Rice and beans are just a basic, inexpensive, filling meal. When you combine rice and beans, you have a complete protein. And if you look around the world, most cultures in our world have eaten rice forever. Rice is something that luckily is readily available, it's inexpensive, and it can store for a very long time. Plus, it's so versatile. You can jazz it up with all kinds of different spices, seasonings, vegetables. You can turn it into all different types of flavor profiles. When you bring your rice home, make sure that you store it airtight, cool, dark, and dry. You can store it into recycled containers like plastic containers or jars. Just make sure that you only use containers that are food grade, if only ever held food. Don't take a chance with anything that ever held chemicals, should never come in contact with your food. And rice is also something that's easy to buy in a huge bag. Pour it into a Mylar bag, add in some oxygen absorbers, seal it up for for the longest haul. I also like having smaller containers of the foods simply because that's what works easiest, to go and open another container and put it into my pantry. If you have a large family, of course you're going to want to have the biggest buckets. There are so many different ways that you can store these foods, different size containers. Find the containers that work for you, and maybe even a variety, some small, some big buckets. It's all what works for you. This package of rice at Walmart has 50 servings. That's a lot of servings of food for not a lot of money. Rice is also a food that you can buy already prepared into the longest lasting containers. I buy rice in number 10 cans, and they come in a box of 6 from the LDS or the Mormon Church. These are very high quality. They come already sealed for 30 years. You don't have to buy Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, buckets, jars, nothing. It's already done for you at a very reasonable price, and I believe it's still only $3 for shipping. And with that shipping, you get a box of 6 of whatever the food that you want. They have all different kinds of food, but if you wanted to order rice, you would get a box of 6 number 10 cans of rice sealed to last. And then you can just put it away in your pantry. The next food we want is salt. There are so many different kinds of salts. Find the salt that works for you. Iodized, regular, Himalayan, sea salts. There's many different varieties, and you just want to make sure that you have some. Salt is actually critical for our survival, but what happens is, in this day and age, there's so much sodium in all of the food that we eat that we don't even need to add salt. But if you had to get back to just preparing all of your own food from basics, you're going to need to have salt in your diet. One reason to think about having some iodized salt is iodide is critical to our health. It protects our thyroid. It's something we need in our diet, but not everybody likes iodized salt. You can even think about getting some of those little seaweed sheets and add those into your recipes, and that can add some of the iodide into your recipes and help protect your health. Look at this basic container of salt that you can get at Walmart for hardly any money. Just like other foods, though, the salt needs to be stored airtight. I know that I had a container of salt out at my granny camp, which is my Alaska off-grid cabin, and I've never worried about it being in just the cardboard container before, but one year evidently it was more humid or more moisture in the air because the salt turned into a solid block. Nobody wants to go to their salt and you have to then chip it apart to even get any. I suppose if you had nothing else to do, you could do that, but wouldn't it be nice if you stored it properly so you didn't have to worry about chipping off a few flakes and granules of salt? The next longest lasting food is oatmeal. You can go to the store, pick up a package of oats, bring them home, store them into some kind of a container. Or what I like to do is order them from the LDS Church. The oats come already sealed in a number 10 can. You can buy a box of 6 of them, and then they're sealed to last. And yes, you can go and open these anytime you want more oatmeal. You don't have to put it away forever. It doesn't have to stay in your pantry forever. Just like any other food, you can use, rotate, and replace. And that's what I do with some of these cans that I get from the LDS or the Mormon Church. I buy them in the box with 6 each, and then I have them for whenever I need some. And yes, I still go to the store and buy a box of oatmeal every now and then, but then other times I go and I open up the number 10 cans, I use them in my pantry because it's regular food that you're used to eating, that you can then use, rotate, and replace, even the longest lasting foods. Look at this box of oatmeal that you can buy at Walmart, and this has 30 servings of oats in it for hardly any money. The next basic food is flour. What can you do with flour, you're wondering? You can make flatbread, you can make tortillas, you can make simple pasta noodles. There are a lot of things you can do with just flour and water, but if you could add in some butter, some oil, other kinds of ingredients, you can make biscuits, muffins, bread. There's all kinds of things you can do with flour, but not if you don't have any or it isn't fresh and ready to use. So go to the store, pick up a bag of flour, look at the price of this flour at Walmart. It isn't very expensive for a good start to having basic foods on hand. Flour is another thing that you can order from the LDS or the Mormon Church. It comes already sealed You don't have to do anything to prepare the food to last in your prepper pantry, in your longest lasting food storage. That's what's great about buying some of these in the number 10 cans. And don't worry about if you don't belong to the Mormon church, you don't have to. They are willing to sell their products to anyone. That's part of what their belief system is in preparedness. They've struggled through the history of their religion, and so having food on hand is part of the tenets of their religion, the way I understand it. I think they believe, like I do, that the more of us who are prepared, the better off we all will be, and that's why you can share information and then they have available to you the ability to buy these products. I'll put a link to where you can purchase the foods from the LDS or the Mormon Church in case you want to look into it. It's high quality foods, stored and ready to go, and they're the basic foods, the single ingredients that can last the longest. So I recommend it if it's something that you want to do, stock up to be prepared for an unknown future. That's why I'm a prepper. I want to make sure that I can provide for myself and my family, that I'm going to have basic foods no matter what. And yes, I have a pantry full of canned foods, packaged foods, the easy to open, serve a can of chili even. And those are important to have too, because those are the meals that we can put together in a hurry and just on any other day. But then when you really want to get into having the basic foods, these are the 7 that I would recommend that you include in your food storage stockpile. Leave it in the comments below. What foods do you recommend to us so that we can have the basics covered, so that no matter what happens in an unknown future, we'll be able to take care of ourselves and our family. I hope you'll like my video, share it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.